Okay, let's unpack this. We've really reached a defining moment here, I think, in the career of one of Hollywood's most, I mean, globally recognized figures,
Without a doubt.
Johnny Depp. He is undeniably back in the spotlight, but the whole narrative, it feels entirely new.
It's not just a comeback.
Yeah.
That's too simple a word for it.
Exactly. It's not a simple continuation of his last chapter. It feels like a full-scale, creative, and commercial overhaul. We've got a dense stack of sources here. Market analysis, reports on new business ventures, some really specific details on his own projects.
And what's so fascinating when you look at all of that together is that we're not just observing an actor who's, accepting new roles hand down by the studios.
Well,
We're witnessing a meticulously architected transition. The shift isn't just about, say, career recovery. It's a sophisticated renaissance.
the Renaissance, I like that.
And it's defined by these deliberate, often really surprising choices that hint at something much bigger, a fundamental long-term restructuring of his entire professional life.
It feels like the mission here it's about achieving permanent autonomy.
That's the word, economy.
So our mission today for this deep dive is to really analyze this specific, sometimes jarring blend of creativity and commerce.
Mm-hmm.
We want to decode what this mix signals about his future because, honestly, the source material hints at some genuinely surprising announcements about where he sees his legacy going.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, reputation, economics, celebrity capital, this period is defining. It's a compelling case study
In what way?
in leveraging existing massive global fame, even after all the controversy, to build something new, something more controlled, and I think most importantly, is structurally resilient.
Right.
It raises a big question for all A-list talent, really.
Right.
In this modern, volatile media era, does ultimate success mean you have to transcend the traditional Hollywood system altogether?
To become an independent, like a sovereign entity.
Exactly. Does the artist become a sovereign entity?
That's the hook. That question of sovereignty is central to everything we're seeing. So let's jump right in. Let's start with the first major thread we pulled, the strategic reentry and these high-stakes rumors that keep everyone hooked. Okay, so following that period dominated by, well, intense legal battles and just relentless public scrutiny, the first thing that really jumped out from our sources is this proactive almost. It's like a campaign. A campaign-like approach Depp has taken to reestablishing his global public visibility. This has not been a quiet, gradual return.
No, it's been a calculated, high-impact reappearance. And it's designed to showcase one thing above all else: global relevance. It's all about strategic engagement, and the primary way to do that is to control the media environment.
And the sources point to something specific, right?
They do. They specifically mention his appearances at these massive international fan events, and they highlight Tokyo Comic-Con as a prime example.
Okay, so why there? That choice of venue, it feels anything but accidental.
Oh, it's not accidental at all. It signals a deliberate, I would even say geopolitically savvy strategy.
I'm sorry.
It's about maintaining fan engagement worldwide, but specifically leveraging those massive international markets. Think about Asia, Latin America, Europe.
Markets that are often fiercely loyal.
Fiercely loyal to an artist's body of work. And this is the key, often regardless of the domestic media cycles, particularly what's happening in the United States.
That's a critical distinction. So why are these international fan events, like at Tokyo Comic-Con, why are they inherently safer and more strategic than, say, going on a U.S. network talk show or doing a big magazine spread?
The difference is the fundamental goal of the interaction. Traditional media, especially post-controversy, almost requires the talent to engage in a narrative of apology or defense or detailed explanation.
It keeps the focus squarely on the past legal issues.
Exactly. Fan conventions, though, particularly the big international ones, they offer a direct-to-consumer route. It completely bypasses that filter.
It's direct communication. You're cutting out the middleman.
Yeah, precisely. You're engaging your base, you are rebuilding visibility, but completely on your own terms, and you're receiving immediate, quantifiable, positive reinforcement.
Applause, enthusiasm.
Loyalty. And crucially, you have to remember that in many of these international markets, the cultural dynamics around celebrity and personal life are they're different.
Right. There's often a greater emphasis on the professional output, less scrutiny on private affairs than you'd find in, say, the US or UK media.
So by focusing his reentry there, he's effectively isolating his global box office value from all the domestic noise. And what that does is it forces the major studios to recognize that his worldwide capital is still very much intact.
It's incredibly smart. It's like creating a fortress of positive, controlled engagement where the narrative is dictated by the loyalty of the fans, not the skepticism of commentators.
It requires a high level of media sophistication. You're treating your public image not as some fixed thing, but as a fluid, managed asset.
And this whole proactive persona, it seems to signal that he's not waiting for permission to return.
It's a declaration. It says, I am an active figure, I am globally relevant, and I am choosing where and how I interact.
And that successful demonstration of global viability, that's the necessary prelude to the other big part of the section.
And high-stakes rumors.
The high-stakes rumors surrounding his return to these massive defining franchise roles.
Ah, yes, the speculation that really captions the public imagination.
And let's be honest, it represents billions of potential dollars for a studio. We absolutely have to talk about Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, that is the career anchor everyone fixates on.
The discussion around his potential return to Pirates it's incessant. And our source material confirms this speculation is very much alive within industry circles.
But there's a key detail, right?
There is a crucial, very tantalizing detail we have to focus on. All the speculation is tied to specific, but as yet unnamed, certain conditions.
Those certain conditions. That's what drives the entire rumor mill. If he were to return as Captain Jack Sparrow, I mean, it wouldn't just be a professional comeback.
No, it would be a massive cultural and commercial event, a powerful vindication.
So let's dive into the practical side of that. From a complex, high-stakes negotiation standpoint, what do you think those conditions could realistically be, given, the whole context of his departure?
Okay, if we look at this from a cold business and reputational risk perspective, those conditions likely fall into several very specific categories, and they go way beyond a simple salary negotiation.
Okay, so break those down for us. What would an actor with that level of leverage actually demand?
First, you have to start with financial compensation and back-end equity. This isn't just about the initial fee.
Of course not.
He would likely demand a substantial back-end deal, what we call points on the film's gross or net profits. Given the reputational damage and the subsequent renewal of his star power, this fee would have to be colossal.
Like one of the largest in Hollywood history.
Potentially. It would have to be to make it worthwhile. It's not just a salary, it's compensation for past losses and for future risk.
So it's kind of an insurance policy on his future earnings.
No. Exactly. Second category, creative control and veto power.
This is a big one.
Huge. If he returns, he needs absolute assurance that the character's narrative aligns with his vision and that the creative team around him is favorable. This likely means demanding script approval, a larger producing credit.
Not just a vanity title.
No, a functional one, and probably veto power over key creative hires, like the director or the writers. This is about protecting the character's legacy.
That makes so much sense. He'd want to ensure that if he comes back, it's not for a simple cash grab or some quick reboot that diminishes the character he spent decades building.
And thirdly, and this is maybe the most technically interesting part, reputation management writers.
What does that even mean?
Given the contentious nature of his departure, the conditions might include contractual stipulations about the film's marketing campaign. It could involve specific language the studio must use when describing his return, limitations on interviews that delve into his personal life, maybe even structured public statements or apologies from high-ranking studio execs that acknowledge his value.
That's next level. That elevates the negotiation from just getting a paycheck to a full-scale corporate reputation restructuring.
Yes. The studio would effectively be paying to repair his image in addition to paying for his talent.
And the ultimate leverage point here is that he can actually afford to say no.
That's the ultimate negotiation point. Because of his successful diversification, which we're about to get into, he can genuinely walk away. That position of independence gives him immense power to shape the terms of any return. If he walks back onto that set, it has to be on his terms.
It has to publicly signal that the past controversies are closed and establish, an undeniable victory in the court of public opinion.
It has to be a total win.
But wait, isn't there a risk here? If he returns to Pirates, even on his own terms, couldn't that dilute the creative seriousness he seems to be cultivating with these other projects we'll discuss, like the big literary adaptation?
That tension is the central paradox of this entire renaissance. It's a great question.
Is there an inherent tension between the commercial need and the artistic reinvention?
I would argue that the leverage he holds over Disney, The knowledge that Captain Jack Sparrow is basically irreplaceable is what allows him the financial security to pursue those high-risk, high-art projects.
So Pirates is the commercial safety net.
It's the massive influx of capital that frees him from the need to take other lucrative but maybe less challenging roles. It's less about artistic dilution and more about structural subsidization.
That shifts the dynamic entirely. Okay, so beyond the behemoth that is Pirates, our sources also mention speculation about other new roles.
Right.
And a specific project called Daydrinker.
Right, and this shows he's not just sitting around waiting for Disney to make a decision. He's actively developing new parallel paths.
Hedging his bets.
Exactly, and Daydrinker is a key example of diversifying the artistic portfolio,
Mm-hmm.
moving away from just these fantastical blockbusters. If Pirates is the commercial anchor, projects like this allow him to maintain artistic credibility, work in different genres, and test the waters for what a post-controversy Depp role even looks like to the filmmaking community.
It's about signaling availability and creative vitality to the industry, even while these huge franchise discussions are rumbling in the background.
It sends a clear message. I am creatively active, I am still bankable, and I am not defined solely by one character.
Right.
So what Section 1 tells us is this. The public reentry is calculated, it's focused on global fan bases, and the persistent high-stakes rumors act as a constant pressure gauge for his market value.
But the biggest pivot,
Yeah.
the true career change that seems to underpin all this newfound independence that's happening outside of Hollywood entirely.
Which brings us perfectly into the realm of entrepreneurship. This, I think, is where we see the most significant and structurally sound shift in his entire career.
Yeah.
The move from being primarily a paid actor to becoming a functional entrepreneur, that is a monumental leap. It signals a profound strategic shift toward deeper financial control and, long-term independence.
And the specific venture, Three Hearts Rum, is it's almost comically aligned with his most famous character.
It is.
If you are globally famous for playing a charismatic, slightly inebriated pirate, rum is the single most synergistic product you could possibly launch.
It's more than synergy. It's an active strategy that we sometimes call IP-adjacent branding.
IP-adjacent. Explain that.
Okay, so the sources explicitly detail that Three Hearts Rum is inspired by pirate themes. This is a direct, culturally understandable, yet legally separate continuation of the aesthetic he helped define on screen for years.
So he's monetizing the cultural influence of Captain Jack Sparrow.
Without needing Disney's explicit permission or licensing for every single bottle sold.
That is just genius in its legal maneuverability.
Yeah.
As a consumer, you are buying a piece of that character's aesthetic, a connection to that persona, without the massive overhead of a formal licensing agreement.
It's a powerful strategic move, but we also have to introduce some critical skepticism here.
Of course.
This bold step into entrepreneurship uses his cinematic history as a massive, pre-existing, and totally free marketing engine. It transforms that intangible celebrity goodwill
Fame, cultural recognition.
into tangible, sellable product equity. But let's be critical for a second. The celebrity spirits market is incredibly saturated right now.
Totally. Celebrity tequila, celebrity vodka, gin.
So is Three Hearts Rum a serious long-term business, or is it just another vanity project that's destined to fade away in a year or two?
That's the exact question a deep dive needs to answer. What do the sources say? What about the competitive landscape, the quality, the distribution strategy for this brand?
The financial analysis that we have indicates it's structured not as a temporary vanity project, but as a long-term equity play.
Okay, what's the difference?
Unlike simply signing a sponsorship deal where you just, take a check, Depp is taking an actual ownership stake. This aligns the brand with the highly successful models pioneered by figures like, say, George Clooney with Casamigos Tequila or Ryan Reynolds with Aviation Gin.
Right. Those weren't just endorsements.
No, they were structured exits that generated hundreds of millions of dollars in wealth. They converted fame into a sellable asset.
Ah, so the goal isn't just to sell bottles of rum week to week. The goal is to build the brand to a point where a major spirits conglomerate, Diageo, a Pernod Ricard, comes in and buys the whole operation.
Giving him a massive single liquidity event.
An asset transfer.
Exactly. He is converting ephemeral fame and very volatile acting income into tangible, equity-backed assets that can sustain his lifestyle far more reliably than an actor's salary ever could. And this fundamentally changes his relationship with the film industry.
It gives him a whole new revenue stream that isn't dependent on a studio green light, a box office hit, or the mood of a casting director. He's now the CEO of his own pirate-themed, globally distributed business.
And that leads us directly to the significance of this diversification. When we look at the broader implications, we see this crucial trend among major actors who've either, faced career volatility or simply reached a pinnacle where creative control becomes everything.
So what is diversifying like this signal about his long-term focus?
Well, first and foremost, it's about risk mitigation and stability.
Right.
Film careers are notoriously volatile. They rely on external forces, box office trends, critics, public opinion. An established business, even one tied to his persona, provides a baseline of financial stability and operational predictability that the film industry just cannot match.
So if he goes through another controversial period, the rum business just keeps generating revenue.
It's a necessary hedge against the inherent unpredictability of Hollywood and celebrity culture, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, well.
Secondly, it's about redefining labor. It allows him to diversify his income, creating passive revenue streams that are far less demanding on his time and physical health than, say, a 9-month film shoot in some remote location.
The acting career fuels the business, but the business sustains the lifestyle.
And that is crucial for career longevity. And finally, as you said, this strategic shift leverages his existing branding at the highest possible level. His personal brand is the currency here.
All those decades spent building that image. Captain Jack, the Tim Burton collaborations.
It all provides this massive, trusted foundation for the commercial venture. The financial independence he gains from this ensures that his fame translates directly into commercial success, independent of his next film role.
Which means he can choose his next role for pure passion, rather than for the size of the paycheck.
And I think that's the most compelling part of this pivot.
So does the rum eventually become more important than movies? Does the business become the legacy, and the acting becomes the hobby?
For long-term financial stability and structural legacy, yes. The business potentially offers far more stability and enduring wealth than the acting career. The rum brand isn't just a product, it's a functional demonstration of his market resilience.
It's a move toward longevity and legacy building that goes beyond the cinematic realm.
And that reframed artistic freedom brings us perfectly to the massive creative challenge he has chosen to take on, a challenge that really underscores his renewed commitment to high art.
And this project, it really highlights the intense artistic side of his renaissance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a substantial, highbrow counterweight to the purely commercial move of the rum venture.
It shows he's not abandoning high-stakes, high-art endeavors.
Oh.
This is the confirmed high-profile project, the adaptation of Mikhail Bulgakov's novel, The Master and Margarita.
And this isn't some quick genre picture. This is tackling literary canon that has defied adaptation for decades.
It really has, and the specifics of his involvement are absolutely key here. Depp is listed as both producing and starring in the film.
That dual role is extremely significant.
It is. As a producer, he controls the overall vision, the budget, the hiring of the director, and, critically, the final shape of the narrative. As the star, he's putting his entire artistic weight and his idiosyncratic style behind the central performance.
And for anyone listening who might not be familiar with it, Bulgakov's The Master and Margarita, I mean, it's not just a book.
No, it is arguably one of the 20th century's most complex, ambitious, satirical, and surreal masterpieces. Our sources describe it as a highly anticipated literary adaptation, which is code for the creative expectations are immense.
And the public scrutiny will be microscopic.
Absolutely. It's a novel that's notorious for its density, its blending in genres. You have, 3 main storylines all woven together?
Right. You've got the arrival of the devil, who's named Woland, and his retinue in 1930s Moscow. Then you have the story of the Master and Margarita themselves, and then a retelling of the Passion of Christ, focusing on Pontius Pilate.
Yeah.
It's a massive undertaking.
It's politically charged, it's deeply philosophical, and it contains this biting satire directed at the Soviet bureaucratic and artistic establishment of the time. Adapting it is just notoriously difficult because of that sheer scope.
And the blend of realism, fantasy, historical drama, theological commentary.
If you fail to capture that balance, it would be an artistic catastrophe.
So why this project? Why right now at this crucial moment of career recalibration?
I think it signals profound ambition and a fierce desire for creative validation beyond his typical genre roles.
Right.
After years of playing these beloved, eccentric, but often commercially driven characters, taking on a role in an adaptation of this weight, It suggests he is intentionally prioritizing his artistic legacy. He's aiming for critical respect.
He's subjecting himself to a different kind of scrutiny, not box office numbers, but literary fidelity and profound artistic interpretation.
It's almost a statement, isn't it, about the nature of the persecuted artist. Given the novel's themes of censorship and an artist's struggle against a hostile establishment, the choice feels deeply personal, almost metaphorical.
Absolutely. And that's where the media and public speculation about his interpretation becomes just inextricably linked to his own life.
It has to. Bulgakov wrote the book during a period of intense Soviet repression, and its primary antagonist, Woolen the Devil, he arrives in Moscow not to destroy, but to expose the hypocrisy and moral rot of the society he finds.
So, he's choosing to star in a story where a powerful, mysterious outsider figure comes in and exposes societal flaws.
Yes.
The parallels to his own recent public trials, where he himself felt scrutinized and, persecuted by the establishment, they're inescapable. The adaptation itself becomes a meta-commentary.
Precisely. The media will inevitably view Depp's interpretation, whether he does it consciously or not, through the lens of his past controversies and his current position as a global figure who fought back against a seemingly overwhelming system.
So if he plays Wooland, the devil figure, he can inject that character with a sense of ironic detachment, world weariness, and a kind of judgmental wisdom that reflects his own recent experiences.
You're saying that the adaptation becomes an act of public reflection?
Exactly. It transforms a literary masterpiece into a vehicle for processing his own personal narrative arc.
And that's the high-stakes gamble. The very nature of adapting a work this complex places immense weight on the lead actor and producer to shake the final product. His unique brand of theatricality, his ability to inhabit characters that are simultaneously absurd, tragic, and deeply charismatic, that will inevitably reshape how the audience perceives the central themes.
And if the film succeeds?
It won't just be a film success, it'll be a major literary interpretation success, which elevates him into a whole different league of artistic respect. It solidifies his place as a serious dramatic force.
That is a huge artistic gamble, and it requires intense focus, dedication, and freedom from financial pressure.
Which creates a beautiful structural balance.
The commercial rum helps fund the risky personal high art project.
That financial independence is the lubricant for his artistic ambitions. The rum venture ensures that the Master and Margarita is a project of choice, not of necessity. But this balance also means that every facet of his life is now under the microscope, not just his art and his business, but his financial foundation itself.
And that's the thing, isn't it? The public conversation around high-profile figures is never just about the work. It's about the entire narrative. And in this post-controversy landscape, finance is a key, unavoidable component of that narrative.
Absolutely. Our source material notes this recent renewed public discussion surrounding his net worth, past management troubles, his well-known spending habits.
Right.
In this current phase of his career, why is there such a pervasive public fascination with celebrity finances? It seems intrusive, but also inevitable.
I think part of it is just basic human curiosity, but for a figure of his magnitude, it has to go deeper than that.
It does. The public fascination with their finances serves multiple crucial functions within the larger media ecosystem.
Like what?
Firstly, it provides context for their career choices. If the media frames his financial state as precarious, due to past spending or legal costs, the audience then analyzes whether the launch of Three Hearts Rum is a passion project or if it's a calculated maneuver to replenish the coffers.
And that context determines whether the public sees him as an artist or as a financially strained businessman.
Exactly. And in Depp's case, given the extensive publicly known legal costs from his recent battles, the financial analysis is particularly intense. The narrative the public adopts about his financial health directly impacts the perceived sincerity of his artistic and commercial moves.
That's key. The public exposure and analysis of his finances, it fundamentally reveals insights into his current career priorities and his lifestyle. It grounds the celebrity narrative in a verifiable reality.
And if the public perceives that he has returned to financial stability and control, and the entrepreneurial pivot certainly supports that idea, it allows them to believe his artistic choices, like the Master and Margarita, are purely driven by creative desire, not financial obligation.
Which strengthens his artistic narrative and his leverage against the studios.
It all connects.
So the financial stability ensures his artistic credibility. It's this peculiar form of transparency, or at least the public discussion of transparency, regarding his net worth that has become Well, almost part of his brand management now.
It adds a layer of human struggle and eventual triumph, even if the staggering numbers involved are.
Unimaginable to most people.
Right. But beyond the finances, the most crucial element in cementing this Renaissance public image is how he has been reflecting on the past. This is the psychological component of the career pivot.
That public reflection on past relationships, career controversies, legal battles, that's where the narrative depth is truly created.
Hmm.
He isn't ignoring the past. He's actively processing it and integrating it into his current persona.
That's the key distinction, and it's a very deliberate strategy.
Hmm.
Avoiding the past can make a celebrity seem defensive or inauthentic or in denial, but addressing it, however strategically, adds complexity and depth to his public image. It transforms the subject from a flat figure in a legal dispute into a complex human being who has endured these intense crises and is now sharing the lessons learned.
That controlled vulnerability, when it's deployed effectively, is incredibly potent for maintaining long-term audience engagement.
It shifts the focus from what happened, which is static and often polarizing, to what was learned and how I changed, which is a forward-moving, more unifying theme.
It allows the public to re-engage with him, not just as an actor, but as a figure who has gone through the fire and emerged with a deeper understanding of himself and the world.
Precisely. This strategy of addressing the past is what keeps audiences intrinsically intrigued and engaged with his ongoing narrative. People don't follow static figures, they follow sagas. Stories of endurance, struggle, and eventual rebirth.
And by reflecting on his personal journey, he converts legal transcripts and public controversies into these personal growth narrative arcs.
Which allows the audience to shift their focus from judgment to empathy, creating a stronger, more enduring bond than simple celebrity appeal ever could.
And that saga is now layered with all of it. The high-stakes commercial enterprise, the high-risk, high-art film projects, and the strategic, globally focused public appearances. It's a full 360-degree re-entry.
Fundamentally different and structurally more robust than what his career looked like 5 or 10 years ago. The sources confirm that this calculated mix, the artistic endeavor, the commercial asset building, and the narrative control is the defining feature of his current phase.
He is maximizing every facet of his persona.
For both artistic fulfillment and, crucially, rock-solid financial stability.
This has been an absolute fascinating deep dive. A look into a very carefully constructed career moment, one that really redefines what a celebrity comeback looks like in the 21st century.
It really does.
When we summarize his recent activities, what we're seeing is this successful, high-stakes blend of different facets working in perfect, calculated tandem.
We observed the clear creativity, for instance, evident in the high-stakes film projects, highlighted by taking on that massive literary adaptation of the Master and Margarita.
That's a profound declaration of serious, legacy-focused, artistic intent.
And it's financed by his own resilience.
We also analyzed the sharp business acumen shown by the launch of Three Hearts Rum, a powerful commercial move that leverages his most iconic character association for financial independence.
Moving him from an employee to an asset owner.
And tying it all together is that refined strategy we see in his careful public appearances, like reaching out directly to international fan bases at events like Tokyo Comic-Con.
It's a tightly controlled, globally aware narrative, and it's designed to insulate his career from domestic volatility.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this deep dive? It means the current period is defined by a calculated mix of entrepreneurialism and continued artistic effort. He is effectively building a fully integrated ecosystem,
where the high art fuels the cultural recognition and the commercial brand funds the next ambitious, risky artistic project.
He is resilient by design.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it suggests that success for major A-list stars, particularly those who have navigated public crises, is now less about winning an Oscar.
And more about establishing and controlling a fully integrated global brand.
A brand that is structurally resilient to the whims of the studio system and the volatility of public opinion. He has achieved autonomy through diversification.
And as we end this deep dive, we'll leave you with this provocative thought. In this new diversified model, what combination of acting and business will truly define his long-term legacy? Will the commercial empire eventually overshadow the artistic pursuits? Or will the rum brand be simply viewed as the necessary economic engine for a great artist's final, uncompromised creative flourish?
Why will fans and the media continue watching so closely? Because his career trajectory is now a definitive blueprint for how a controversial global icon reinvents, sustains, and ultimately controls their own narrative in the digital and financial age.